Well, should we talk about some long matches where everybody kicks out of everything?
For a little bit. I mean, I actually thought when watching Dynamite, there's a few spectacular moments, I guess, that I wanted to hear what you thought, but in general, it wasn't a very good show. I didn't know how much you were going to have to say about it.
Well, I have observations. I'm not going to go blow by blow, although a lot of it did blow. But some of it requires some explanation. It may be entertaining for you and me to try to, along with the listeners, muddle through what the was going on. Then this was November 22nd, the day before Thanksgiving for Dynamite. So they're in Chicago 4 days before the WWE has sold 30-something thousand tickets. So they got the Woo energy drink is on the screens now. And you mentioned, I think earlier in the program, the caricature. It looked like an old WCW under Jim Herd fucking merchandise drawing. And Flair looked like a drawing of the guy that played Flair in Young Rock. It's just,
I think this is cheap. This looks cheaper than Ruse did as a sponsor for WCW, NWA, because at least kids kind of saw commercials for that. There's nothing for Woo Energy. You have to buy it from their website.
Shoes for your feet, pockets for your stuff, but no woo for you, kids. So at the announce desk, they have the drinks, but they're sitting on a shelf on the front of the desk behind a partition, so the announcers can't reach them without standing up and leaning over, so they can't take a drink of them. Apparently, they consulted their doctor, and the announcers are not allowed to drink this stuff before broadcasting on national television. And there's only one bottle sitting in front of each, and now there's 3 bottles. They couldn't even put a 6-pack up there.
It looks so cheap.
I'm like, what the fuck? So then they announced the rules for the Continental Classic, which each match has a 20-minute time limit. A winner gets 3 points. A draw is 1 point. A loser, obviously, gets no points. Seconds are barred from ringside. Nobody's allowed to be ringside, so there'll be no interference. Unlike our normal matches where we've just proven we could easily stop this, but we don't.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
And I promise you, nobody will be keeping score at home except for the fucking nerds that have watched the New Japan round robin tournaments or whatever. And most people watching television will be going, now they want us to do math? What the fuck?
Round Robin's my favorite Joshi.
Well, yeah, and her big aunt, Square Robin, she got heavy and used the big bonsai drop. And the first tournament match was Swerve Strickland versus Jay Lethal. And I love Jay Lethal. I've talked about him so many times. If they'd have pushed Lethal from the start when he first came in like they pushed Jay White, they might have something. He's a better worker, he's a better promo, and he has more experience. But he's a fucking heel. And they're putting him against Swerve, who is such a dastardly heel that invades the cribs of children that the people cheered him against their goddamn cowboy babyface former world champion. And so I don't want to see Swerve again at all against anybody after the garbage match last week. And I know that Lethal is not going to win. That's my personal opinion. But for the viewer at home, it's 2 heels, but one is Lethal has more heel heat because he's in Jeff Jarrett's group that they don't like for real. And he's used as an underneath guy that loses most of the time. So they're naturally going to boo him against a cool heel that they've been cheering with whether he has his manager dancing or not, that they know is going to win because he's pushed as a main event guy. So how does it help either one when your main event heel is getting more and more cheers and you're leading them to do that by giving him this opponent, and Jay Lethal, poor fella, is just going to do another fucking job? Did you hear Sockface trying to explain the tournament, and he couldn't grasp the phrase single elimination tournament to differentiate it from this round robin tournament. So he was like, is it not like a just lose and leave once thing or something like that?
And they just let him hang in the wind. There was nothing they could do.
Well, I don't know whether they could come up with it at that point or not. He butchered it so bad, he probably scared it out of them. But anyway, so Swerve beat Jay Lethal with a double stomp off the top rope and got big cheers for it. And I swear to God, when it looks like it can't get any more amateurish, Renee Moxley Good, did you see the backstage with Hook and Pockets and the Japanese fellow that was just standing there, and his name was never mentioned until Wheeler Useless came in to knock all of them with one of his whiny memorized monologues. And it was Shibata, the guy with the brain replacement. And who do we know?
It wasn't replaced. It's the same brain. It's his brain that, as reported in the Wrestling Observer, was removed from his head and placed back in. He did not get a second brain.
Okay, but it was... Do we know for sure who the doctor was that did this? Because could you put it in backwards?
I believe it was Dr. Bombay.
Well, do you think he might have put it in backwards, and that's why he's wired up crooked?
That's why he's tagging up with Orange Cassidy and Hook?
Yes. But nevertheless.
Well, Jim, if I could just jump in to go back to the match.
Well, yeah.
That's the problem. That match is the problem with AEW right there. I can't judge Jay Lethal based on what he can do. I can only judge him based on how he's been used. Why would anyone think he's going to win? So now you're going to have a long competitive match with one of the top stars in the company who's booked as a heel, and the fans accept him like a babyface, which is what they wanted. Although it's just backwards and done in such a fucking backwards way. But you know he's going to win, and it took him 20 minutes. It was a 20-minute match.
It was long.
It took him 20 minutes to beat Jay Lethal, who never wins, who never beats anybody. That's the difference between like a match. That's working for star ratings and working for match quality versus working to make sense.
For business.
And it's, again, nothing against Jay Lethal. I know what you think of him. Like I said, I can't judge him based on what he could do or what he did for you. Based on how he's been used in AEW, this should have been a 20-minute match?
No.
You brought up the backstage interview. I mentioned also when you said, let's go from the ridiculous to whatever you said. Renee is now wearing like a bra and a blazer.
I know what I thought she was doing the thing from the woman on Seinfeld.
the O. Henry candy bar heiress?
Yes, she wore the
Sue Ellen Mishke.
Sue Ellen Mishke.
Maybe that's what she's doing. But what's happening on this show?
It's from the Sue Ellen Mishke collection. Well, that's the point is all of the matches, and I've said it in a variety of ways. You succinctly said it there. They're not working for the match they should have for the business goals they want to have. They're working for every match to be goddamn a classic, quotation marks. And as I told guys in training camps and tryout seminars and etc. 15 years ago, every match doesn't have to be the main event of Starrcade 86. It's when you're auditioning for something or when you're performing your job. It's better to have the match that's called for by business rather than that you want to have and that your Mark Booker will allow you to have just because you can have it. There's a reason why that the fucking extras that get a line, boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty. They're not on screen for 15 minutes going toe-to-toe with goddamn Bruce Willis in Die Hard.
But also the other thing, look at the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes of Raw SmackDown. SmackDown this past week had a lot of women's stuff. Women who are stars in their company. Bianca, Charlotte, Becky, those are three of the biggest stars in all of women's wrestling. Raw, usually you have Judgment Day, maybe Cody, maybe Jey Uso, maybe Sammy. God forbid Rollins. Here you had Swerve, who is certainly, I think, one of their top guys. Other than that, Jay Lethal, Orange Cassidy, Hook, who, whatever potential there is, it's still just that. There's been no progress in like 3 years with Hook. And Shibata, the man with no brain, who if you don't read The Observer, or the man with his own brain, excuse me.
He has a brain. He got it back.
That's right.
He had to surrender it for a few minutes, but he got it back.
If you don't read The Observer or don't watch New Japan, and I see what their numbers are on Axis, not many people are watching New Japan in the States. You have no idea who he is. So you have one show or one promotion giving you stars right at the top. If you're someone giving this company a chance and just tuning in, there's been a lot of buzz, good or bad. You want to check them out, see what it is. Look at what it is. There's no star power. It's childish booking, childish skits. Everyone's just working to please themselves. They forgot about how to please the fans.
Well, you want star power, Brian? Is that what you want? You want the big names? You want the hits to just keep on coming out?
I think you need star power.
Well, they're about to give it to you. Because here came MJF and Adam Cole for a live in-ring promo. And folks, I just want to describe this to you. Adam Cole came out he's got a cast on his foot where he's had the ankle surgery from his big toe all the way up to under his knee. He's walking on crutches. He obviously cannot put weight on this foot for a shoot. And when he got in the ring, he had to sit in a chair in the ring because he couldn't stand up that long. And he's pale, and he's dressed like a hobo, and he looks 50 years old with the scraggly beard and the unkempt hair. And meanwhile, MJF, our world heavyweight champion, is walking with a cane because he really fucked himself up. Apparently, from what we heard on that elbow off the top, he's got hip issues. We're not going to hopefully make him miss any time, but I've got to think that he needed the cane because you wouldn't be stupid enough to fucking go out there being the world champion with the guy next to you that need almost a goddamn hover round and have any kind of help walking. It looked like a goddamn the fife and drum corps from the Revolutionary War. These are their two fucking, I mean, my God, the only thing else they need is the heartbreak of psoriasis all over their body, and it would put them in quarantine. And these are the fucking two top goddamn stars on that side of the fence, the baby faces. Go ahead.
Should Tony have his team looking at various pharmaceutical companies for sponsorships?
No, I think they need goddamn long-term care fucking insurance. And maybe, the old folks home can lower their age requirements so these people can come in and play shuffleboard in their declining years of their 30s. So MJF, he did his babyface stuff for the fans, and he's trying really hard with this, and that's the problem because it shows. And then Adam Cole does seated story time with crippled Cole. I mean, the crutches looked as big around as his calves. And the same general ghostly pallor. And they're doing the promo. They're still Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. The world champion of the company is standing there in the goddamn ring, but they're still doing this thing because it was great that they loved MJF and Adam Cole when they were both healthy and out on the boat and assing off. But people get hurt and things happen. You can't grieve forever, as Lawler used to say, when they'd go to break after a heavy angle and they'd come back with, and now here's Sonny. But they're still Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, but Adam Cole says he's not even close to walking yet, but he's going to try as hard as he can, and he's going to come back just better than ever. And he's worried about MJF because everybody's after him. And MJF says, don't worry about me. When I was born, the devil didn't want the competition. And then suddenly on screen, the guy in the devil mask laughs, and then the blackout happens, and here comes Samoa Joe music. So you got MJF trying so hard he's going to have a hernia. Adam Cole looks like a goddamn coma patient, has just arisen from a fucking 2 years in limbo. The devil is still hopping in. We don't know who. Maybe the devil is Jungle Boy. Because Tony at least thinks he's the devil now after he cost him all this embarrassment.
It can't. You know what? I think a lot of people were thinking that. They've been teases of it. Of course, he got Max, not Max, the other one. Bowen's got thrown through the glass. It makes sense, especially with Punk there now. I mean, all of a sudden, the guy who's the devil, the guy who drove the biggest star out of the company. I mean, it makes sense from that aspect of it, but it'll be a massive letdown if that's Jack Perry.
Well, but
Too many people
know
are
that.
guessing it.
Yeah, and besides, he'd be a massive letdown if he was going into his own birthday party with his immediate family as the guests. But you got the devil popping up, and then here comes Joe. And, at least, I wrote, good God, a wrestler just walked in. Joe was ambulatory with no crutches, wheelchairs, and prosthetic limbs. And he came in and cut a wrestling promo that sounded like he meant it and wanted his title match. And MJF said, in response, blow me, and they bleeped it. They bleeped MJF 2 or 3 times. If they're bleeping it, apparently the network doesn't want it on television. I would suggest stop trying to give them any little more annoyances other than these record low ratings. And then Cole tells MJF that he should honor his word because he's not that person he used to be, and you promised, Max. So MJF, in the space of 20 seconds, then reconsiders and says, okay, let's do it right here, right now, while he's on a goddamn cane. And his backup there that talked him into agreeing to it at all is practically in a fucking wheelchair. But no, Samoa Joe, the only real heel left in this company. What does he say, Brian? You know the response. You've said it so many times. I'll give it to you. What does the heel challenger say to the injured champion who's offering to defend the world title right there, right now?
I don't want you now. I want you at your best. I want you to be your very best. I'm going to be there to make sure you train. In fact, I'll train you. I'm going to hire trainers to train you to make sure you're ready for me. Because that would be the only fair thing for me as a heel to do.
That's right.
We just said that we're sick of this. We just said it again and they did it again.
I think he even said the phrase fully healed, didn't he? So there's no excuses. And then he said, how about World's End pay-per-view on December 30th? Maybe by then they've got time, 6 weeks, they can change the name to Company's End. And MJF says, okay, and they shake hands, and then they insult each other, and Joe says, yeah, you're my property from now on. Nobody's going to touch you until December 30th, and then I'm going to finish you. And again, what we talked about the other day, there are germs, there are traces, there is evidence of great wrestling ideas of booking in the past in a lot of this stuff, but nobody actually saw the whole goddamn thing or didn't see the buildup, just saw the payoff or heard the joke secondhand and couldn't remember the punchline, whatever, because they hide it in all the other ludicrous logic that nullifies everything. So the challenger, the heel, basically making the champion his property. Nobody's going to fuck you up but me. That's been done, but not with all this other chaos around it in this particular fashion, and with everybody except for the heel being fucking crippled.
Yeah, man, what are we going to get to? Who's been trying to get to MJF? Wardlow. We've seen Wardlow and Samoa Joe. We're going to see that again? I don't think so, but...
No, Joe's just going to run out and beat people up if they try to beat MJF up.
There's a few things to say about this. Let's start with the corniest part. Sorry, Jim. The devil, who took over the production truck momentarily, like the famous Max Headroom guy in Chicago, took over the production truck, darkened the arena, I guess? I don't even know what happened. and then disappeared. This really is their Black Scorpion. It sucks. Unless the payoff is fucking zombie Randy Savage or something. There's no way this is going to work out well, I don't think. Adam Cole, I don't want to see on my TV anymore. I don't care how nice a guy he is. I don't care how much Tony Khan personally loves him. Bad overacting, childish segments, the size of my daughters. I don't ever want to see him in a ring again. Can't stay healthy.
If you like Adam Cole, he's doing damage to him because people seeing him like this feel like this. It's like seeing a loved one in the fucking and on their deathbed.
You know, I think they got into a little bit of a trap where with the MJF Adam Cole stuff, it started getting over and they kind of embraced the silliness of it and went as far with it as they, well, I don't even know if as far as they could, but they went far with it.
They went farther than they should have.
Instead of making it serious and see where it would go. And now we're in this trap of bad WWE-esque comedy. Not even modern WWE, old WWE-esque comedy and segments. Segments that don't end. The bad comedy. When Adam Cole finally turns on MJF, and you think back to their friendship and their relationship, it's all been childish. It's all been fake. It's all been, hey, let's go get a camera crew and hang out on the water in a fake way and have fake conversations. And talk on video screens. Like
neither one was ever in a legitimate, realistic-looking angle or match or whatever ever saved the other from horrible doom. All we remember is the goddamn bad buddy comedies from the wannabe film school students.
Orndorff was a heel at WrestleMania 1. Turned babyface shortly after it because Piper and Orton turned on him, obviously, but also he fired Bobby Heenan, who was never even his manager at that point. And he had like a 1-year run, or a little more than a year as a babyface. In that 1 year, fans believed that him and Hogan were friends. They had just been on the opposite side of things, but it had a year to play out, and they were allies, and Orndorff was on the side of the babyfaces. He turned on Hogan less than a year and a half after he'd been a heel, and it was the biggest thing. Literally, it was the biggest thing business-wise in the history of WWF up to that point. Still the most successful house show run, maybe. I don't know about that. You may know better than me that versus anything in the Austin era.
No, it was the most successful adjusted for the difference in era.
But it was two adults, even though Hogan was a ridiculous cartoon character. It was two adults that you believe probably had some kind of friendship, having something where there's some heat there. When Adam Cole turns on MJF, and all of a sudden is a heel again, it can't negate all of this. Him being a dastardly heel will never feel believable. And all of this won't feel believable, because it doesn't. Or the other option is MJF turns and goes back to being a full heel, in which case you have to ask what all of this is all for in the first place.
Well, and if they're banking on keeping this going until Adam Cole is ready to wrestle or do something physical, then that's already bad because it's apparently going to be a while. And unfortunately, MJF may not survive this pandering, childish. Again, we said it all, and we'll move on after I say this. I'll recap what we said the other day. If this MJF was the first MJF that people were exposed to on television, would he be getting over? Would he have gotten over like he fucking did as the real MJF when we first saw him? And our mutual answer was, fuck no. The only reason that they like this MJF at all is because they loved the previous MJF. And the longer we see this MJF, I'm afraid the more he's going to wear on people, where it's going to diminish that.
Well, the other problem is they're chasing any reaction. So the crowds are smaller than they've been for AEW. And the limited people that are there, there's a portion of them, you heard them on TV, that'll yell, Adam! They're into that. That's a very small part of the AEW audience right now, but they're the ones still going and making noise. So they're catering to the people that want the cheap pops, that want to be in on it, but they're leaving everyone else behind. And again, this is a time where you're seeing more and more of the people who attacked us nonstop for being AEW haters or whatever they wanted to say. They're now saying everything that we've been saying for 4 years. We told everyone it was going to happen. It's now happening. And people can't deny it. And they're pointing to this stuff. This MJF Adam Cole stuff. There's a portion of the audience that loves the kangaroo kick. There's a portion that really, really hates it. And I think the separation of those two audiences for AEW is something that they may be banking on the wrong side of.
The only thing I have to disagree with you there is I don't think there is anybody out there that's been saying what we've been saying because they don't know all of those words. They may have been saying part of what we've been saying, but not all of it. Our vocabularies are much larger than the rest of the podcasters.
You should see some of the people out there. When did Tony become a bad booker? When did this happen? How did this happen? Maybe the problem is he has too much on his plate. He shouldn't have done Ring of Honor, or it was Collision, or too many belts. No, these are all the problems we told everyone about from the beginning, and everyone chose to ignore them because they, as you always said, they were smoking the hopium. And the hope has run out. And now reality is set in. And look at the state of AEW.
They need one of those hope divining rods where they can find them some hope.
That's right.
Speaking of running viewers off in droves, as I believe we were just talking about, the ex-Jericho appreciators who are Mac Daddy, Cool Hand Luke, and Jake fucking Hager wrestled a 6-man tag against Hook and Pockets and Shibata. Shibata. And everybody on the babyface team had a belt of some kind. When they were, Hook has his own belt. That the whole gimmick is it's not recognized, but then they recognize it. And Pockets has his belt that Tony gave him. It's as big as he is. And Shibata has a belt of the New Japan Strong Open Weight Cruiser title or whatever. And as I was fast forwarding, apparently Pockets brought out Danhausen to do something standing around ringside, and they gave this 15 minutes of TV time before the babyfaces won because, as we mentioned, the mascot is the boss's pet. Did I miss anything?
No, you missed nothing. AEW is the one missing things right now.
Now, there was an important development in the Adam Cole ongoing saga because he was in the back, and here came Roddy and Larry and Curly to confront him, and Adam Cole told Roderick Strong to shut up because, Roddy, you're not my best friend anymore, deal with it. And he stormed off. And I'm wondering, can they get either Mr. Rogers or Captain Kangaroo, Bob Keeshan, possibly Mr. Green Jeans, Lumpy Branham, anybody to be the interviewer for this morning children's show? Are they going to do kind of the romper room spelling segment?
You're not my friend anymore. I don't want to be your friend. It's either that or I want you at your best. Everything happens over and over and over again.
Well, speaking of happening over and over and over again, God damn, they should have rehearsed this one over and over again till they got it right. I want you to see if you can tell what my favorite thing was about this segment, or not favorite thing, maybe be the improper, the thing I'm most fixated on. And I couldn't take my eyes off as it developed. Christian Cage and Dino Douche and Nick Plain were doing an in-ring promo.
No, you can't say that because that's not right. They announced it beforehand that it was going to be this thing where Christian was going to be renaming or rechristening, I forget the way they put it, his family members.
Yes, he had some type of ceremony where he's christening them or whatever the case. I guess you would know nothing about that. No. And me, I was young. I think it happened to me, but I was too young. I was defenseless at the time. But anyway, Christian does the promo, obviously, and he says he didn't lose the 6-man tag, and old Nick didn't lose. Dino lost, and that's unacceptable. And since they're both his children, he's going to recreate them in his own image. And he tells the fucking goofy dinosaur to take a knee. And the monster, he won't do it. And Christian is starting to do the whole thing where he berates him and just talks bad about him. He's going to do it some more, but he finally gets him down on his knee. And he changes his name from Luchasaurus to a name of strength and toughness and certain victory. Kill Switch. So now the lizard's name is Kill Switch. And but that's what Christian called his finish after he left the WWE, wasn't it? Or was it? Where did he get that from?
Or did he call it that in WWE? I don't know. That was definitely his move.
I thought it was the Unprettier at one time or another.
Oh yeah, that name sucked too. Kill Switch is better than
I think it's because Vince thought that he was such an unattractive person.
Did he? Did Vince ever say anything?
Christian?
Yeah.
You've never heard that story?
No, what?
Oh, God damn it. Hold on one second. Before we go any further with this, Vince was convinced that when we got Christian and Edge, Vince liked Edge, but he thought Christian was ugly facially, as an appearance, as a human being. He said he looked, not necessarily was he ugly, he was normal. He just looked like anybody. He didn't look like a star. He just had a normal fucking face.
Unlike Edge, who looks like he has 80 teeth in his mouth. Well,
yes, but he's got a striking look, but it went so far that they started joking around. One of the fucking gimmicks was that they would have Christian, when he wrestled, they'd put a blue dot over his fucking face.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then finally and that was unfair because Christian ended up looking as good. He fit in the Brood and he looked just as good as anybody else, but it was a Vince thing that he,
Well, long hair was not his friend, Christian. I think when he got his hair cut, he didn't look as moopy or whatever you want to say.
Well, whatever. But now you got Nick Plain. Can you imagine what Vince would have thought about that fucking face? Anyway, so Dino's not happy about being named Kill Switch. And then Christian turns to Nick and he drops down to his knee right away and he's, no, get up, son. You're the son that I always wanted. I love you. And your name is the prodigy Nick Wayne. And I wrote Mike Bennett wants his 2011 fucking gimmick back. The prodigy Mike Bennett. And then suddenly, here comes Nick Wayne's mother. And she is in a gimmick. She's a gimmick now. I assume if he's 18, she's got to be, let's give her 37, right? At minimum, one would think. I'm not trying to say she was a child bride, so we'll go with that.
I was thinking like 45-ish, but in that range.
But I'm saying
woman for her age.
I'm not trying to say I'm trying to say the minimum age she can be is such and such. I'm not trying to get anybody mad because I'm guessing her age.
Right.
She's got an 18-year-old son. We're going to say she's 37. She's dressed in a blue jean jacket with studs on it like the Road Warriors' daughter and patches, and she's got boots on. She's dressed younger than Nick. She's a gimmick. If you want somebody's mother to come out and try to get sympathy as you're yanking her baby away from her arms, do you want her to look like she was just down on more street corners than the fucking Dallas Times-Herald? Does she think she's supposed to be a gimmick? Has nobody told her how this might work? Did it bother you that she looked like a member of the Partridge Family or something?
The way she looked didn't bother me at all. The way she just ran out from the back into the ring, and then Christian, who's this fucking dastardly heel who obviously saw MJF's early stuff and said, I could do that. Christian all of a sudden goes, oh, what's your mom doing here? What's going on? All of a sudden he completely changes his tone because this woman is going to hit the ring like she's going to attack him or something. And then the segment got even worse.
Well, yes, because then he regained his composure and told her to get out of his ring, and he knocked Nick's dad and verbally annihilated her, and she was fake crying. And then suddenly Dino, Kill Switch, stepped in front of her like he's going to defend her. And now he's screaming at Dino and he slaps him in the face. And it's going so long where he's screaming at him and the guy's not doing anything to turn or to not turn. And finally, he double hand shoves Kill Switch, and the lizard fucking turns around and makes a sweeping motion with his arm and takes out Nick Wayne's mom. I don't know whether she still has a fucking name. And she goes down and stays there and never moved again. Now think about this. I'm about to explain to you what the fuck's about to go on here. She gets knocked down by an arm, a stray arm from a guy that got shoved 3 feet into her. Christian tells Nick to get the chairs, and slowly he does. And they drag her motionless, immobile body over to where they could put the chair under her head. And then they got the other chair. And then Christian is telling Dino to concerto, but now he's conflicted. He doesn't want to do it. And then not Edge, but goddamn Nick. Well, you do it. Well, then what? She's not breathing. She is completely motionless. And then finally, Edge's music plays. So now we know he's got to have his music before he comes out to rescue a middle-aged soccer mom. And he makes a comeback on Dino and Nick, and Christian escapes. And then Mom is awake at that point and is crying in the corner, and Edge concertos Nick right in front of his mother. So who's the fucking heel here? Edge comes out to save the mother, and instead of going after Christian, well, he went after him and Christian bailed. So instead of leaving to go after Christian, who is the instigator of all this, or the giant lizard that might be a physical threat, he takes this fucking teenage kid, and in front of his mother, he bashes the kid's head in with a fucking chair. What the fuck is going on here?
This was an all-time bad segment. This was the moment Christian, I think, officially jumped the shark with a lot of AEW fans.
I swear to God, I wrote Cage is not the smartest man in the company.
At one point when he was insulting either Buddy Wayne or Nick Wayne's mom, Nick Wayne started smiling. It looked like he had trouble containing himself because of how ridiculous all this was. The teases with Luchasaurus. Is that what anyone wants? A babyface Luchasaurus run against Christian? This thing was all.
Didn't they do this with Wardlow and MJF 3 years ago?
Yeah, I guess to an extent. Well, look, Christian's obviously doing an MJF tribute act. He's just, updating it a little bit and getting more. He just repeats the same stuff over and over again. Your dad is dead. Your mom is this. You worked a job as a waitress. What are you talking about? This is the best you can come up with?
Well, since nobody's doing the MJF stuff anymore, he might as well do it, though.
They could have done Christian versus Edge and made it something that was must-see, and you couldn't wait to see these two interact. Instead, they gimmicked it up. And now it's just, they already wrestled in like a 6-man or whatever. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
But also the bad acting around the periphery, it just takes the attention away from them possibly having an issue people would care about and muddying it up with all this other phony shit that who gives a shit.
Where was the mother? Who was she hanging out with backstage that she just happened to be there? This isn't in their hometown, is it? She just happened to be there?
No, it's Chicago is that Tuttlin town, not Seattle. No, her son was there. She's probably haunting him, following him. He's probably going to have to get a restraining or maybe be emancipated.
He wrestles there. Who let her in the back? Whether or not she wants to have a relationship with her son, he said, "You're dead to me," and now he's hanging out with creepy Christian. Who let this citizen into the back and then let her run out on the fucking entranceway? She wasn't like at ringside raising a stink. She ran out of the back like Riho.
And she waited until Nick was about to be rechristened, or had been rechristened, with his new nickname of the Prodigy, and then his old name that she gave him, and then she ran out because she couldn't stand no more. You can't give him a nickname.
I have been trying to talk to you. I figured this is the place and the time to do it. Here.
Christian should have come out and said, okay, we're going to change your name to Big Dick Hurts. And then she could run out. No, your father would hate
Nick,
that.
I love you. Call me Big Dick.
Yeah.
Oh, Big Dick. Oh.
That's Mr. Hurts to you.
Seriously, from the moment Adam Copeland came into now, do you want to see him and Christian one-on-one more or less?
Less.
That's what they do. That's what AEW does.
Well, speaking of something I'd like to see less, did you enjoy the match between Rush and Jay White?
It was fine for what it was, but it goes back to what I said earlier, although neither has been treated as badly as Jay Lethal there. It's just a match to have a high-quality match for this tournament of high-quality matches.
They're two more heels. Because Rush, I remember, he gained great fame for completely eviscerating and neutering and castrating and castigating Jungle Boy before that big 4-way world title match where he just beat the piss out of the kid. And I think LaFuckers and Goobers are heels, right? That faction.
Are they?
Are they?
I mean, they were
Aren't
kidnapped and almost dead, and then they got rescued and escaped Mexico to come back with Preston Vance and just randomly appear with, I don't even know what Jose the assistant does at this point.
Well, because Jose has been a heel in the past, and he's interfered with things, so...
I mean, they don't smile, but I don't know if they're heels.
Well, if they don't smile, that's a pretty good indicator. But point is, Jay White versus Rush. And we know who's going to win because it's Jay White, and you can tell. And who am I supposed to cheer for? What dog do I have in this fight? And Jay White won.
After Rush kicked his ass for the entire match.
What is this guy, fucking Hoist Gracie or goddamn Dr. Death or somebody that everybody's scared to say, hey, what the fuck, dude? All right, what did you think of the Renee Moxley Good and RJ City presentation to Timeless Tony Storm?
I completely fucking hated it. I feel bad that I embraced and enjoyed Tony Storm when she first started doing this. It's gotten so bad and so far to the bad side. It's NXT level bad. It's bad.
It's bad.
And I feel bad. I get it. I liked it when it first started, but they went way too far. Now it's just, it's silly. It's alienating their fans. And the limited fans that go to their shows, a good portion of them are reacting, but it's also a barrier of entry now for people who either were AEW fans or want to give them a chance, because this is not good for professional wrestling.
They've also shot themselves in the foot again on helping Tony Storm do this in the proper way so that it would get over, and that they're hampering their fans' enjoyment, because it would be she does it well, but nobody around her is doing the things they need to be doing, nor is she being instructed to do what she does well in a proper way. And so everybody suffers from that, and their fans would like it more if she'd been produced properly, and she'd get over better, and blah, blah, blah. What they did was, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are lucky enough to miss this, Renee Moxley Goods on the stage with RJ City. And RJ City would be great, as I've mentioned, as a correspondent on The Daily Show, because he's snarky and whatever the fuck. But on a supposed wrestling show that is already silliness filled from top to bottom, it's just he's just another joke, a joke that doesn't really ever get to either be as funny as he could be, because he wouldn't be funny in a wrestling context. He could be funny, but you're not going to get that on this show because they don't have good writers. So the point is, where did he even come from? Is he a 5th grade schoolmate of the Buckaroos or something? But Send him to the Daily Show. But they are acting, he and Renee are acting like it's an award show. And they're on stage and they're going to present the AEW Women's World Championship. We already know who it is. It's Toni Storm. She won it. We know that, right? It's not like here we're presenting a new belt to the champion or whatever. They're presenting it to her like it's the Oscar. And then they do the envelope. And the AEW Women's title goes to Timeless Toni Storm. And then she gets up shocked and she goes and running toward the stage and she trips and falls and accepts the belt from Mariah May, the new stooge they've got that'll be a part of this. And she, of course, says, I had nothing prepared, and then pulls the notes out of her cleavage. And the best part of her acceptance speech was I want to thank Warner Brothers, and I want to thank especially Jack Warner. That popped me. She's got something. They're wasting all of it. Because by that, she was getting whatted. And they loved her 3 weeks ago. But here's the problem. Again, on this show, it looks more like Saturday Night Live. If this was the only thing that was preposterous, it would probably work because she does it well, and you'd have one person doing silliness well. But it has to be presented in the proper universe, in the proper context. Why are the announcers cooperating? The company announcers are cooperating. The announcers, if they're company announcers, they should be going, this woman is delusional. They should be the voice of reason, the straight guy. This woman is delusional. She's lost her mind for some reason, whatever's behind this. She thinks she's a Hollywood, whatever. And put the attention on her as being a whack job. And because she's crazy, she's willing to go to any lengths to do this, like whatever happened to Baby Jane, for fuck's sake. But instead, they're all acting like it's normal, and they're going along with it. Imagine if Oliver Douglas didn't find anything unusual on Green Acres. He just accepted everything. You've blown the fucking show. Right? So they took something that she was doing well, and they completely foobarred it to where everybody's going along with it, and the people are getting tired of it already. It's been 6 weeks because it's silly now. Instead of look at her, it's come on. Am I preaching to the choir here, Brian, to you?
I mean, it's awful. I don't know what else to say. The other problem is when you saw the beginning with RJ City and Sue Ellen Mishke, Moxley Good, they're so pleased to be a part of this. Like, the problem is it's a bunch of stuff that makes the people involved in it really happy, and it's terrible television. RJ City could be used on this show in a number of ways that would be useful. None of those ways have been applied. This was a bad segment, and we're just getting more and more frequent bad segments from AEW. It's really, really bad TV right now.
Well, anyway, Anna Jay and Blue Sky and Ruby Soso had a big messy three-way, and not in a good way.
I watched this.
Well, tell me all about it.
You know, it's just Anna Jay's really good looking, so I just wanted to watch her, to be honest with you. I didn't care about the match or anything. WWE should sign her. She's got some height. She's athletic. She's willing to be goofy. She can take bumps.
She's got some height. She's got some weight, especially where you like it.
I'm serious, though. WWE, she's one of the people WWE should sign. I wouldn't say that about too many women of AEW, but I would say about her.
And hopefully send to NXT to learn how to wrestle.
Yeah, just like Jade.
Well, there you have it.
Did you hear about Triple H, what he said about Jade?
Yes, that was on Twitter this fine morning when he said through no fault of her own, she's not where she should be as far as her development, but we're going to give her all the access to the tools to rectify that, basically, in paraphrasing. And it's true. He compared to the fucking performance center and all the coaches and et cetera that she's going to have to whatever the fuck she was doing in a barn once a week was not. And then remember when she did the interview saying they said just hit this girl over the head with a chair, but nobody told her how to do it?
Yeah, Punk had to tell her what to do.
Yeah, well, that may be part of what he was talking about with she's not as far along as she should be in her development. Anyway.
Seriously, you want to believe, if AEW wants fans to believe any of these wrestlers are coming next, they want to be there, they should have them get in the ring and just go, I know I've been wrestling all around the world, but Anna Jay's just so hot. I had to sign here. But that was the highlight of the show for me.
At least it would be plausible, right?
Yes, you'd believe it. Yeah, you know, that does make sense. This guy's marriage is on the rocks. I can see why he did that.
All right, well, the main event of the evening, another tournament match. And imagine this. This time it's not two heels. It's a babyface against a I don't really know, and I don't think he does either. Mark Briscoe versus Plumber Moxley. But even though these matches have a 20-minute time limit, they started the match, the bell to begin the match. They had 7 minutes left on the air, and they were already saying that, well, Tony Khan has already made arrangements. We're going to stay with this until the conclusion, no matter how long it takes. Well, of course, my DVR didn't do that because I was watching it on Thursday morning from a broadcast on Wednesday night. So I pretty much had time to write down, I really don't want to watch them do this to Mark Briscoe, who is a finer talent and better person in every way than this garbage-minded fucking hobo from Cincinnati. And again, I know who's going to win, and I know who could really be over with a goddamn audience, and who I hope finally one day gets the opportunity to go to the WWE, and they'll make him as hot as LA Knight, Mark Briscoe. But I wrote those things, and then the DVR froze because they can't run a live program, and something on this show went drastically over, and I would bet on the MJF and Adam Cole business. And I don't know who won, but I would assume it would be Diploma.
The Plumber received 3 points for beating Mark Briscoe, and maybe the better, maybe I shouldn't say that. The other matches were probably just as high impact and high star rating.
No, if Mark Briscoe was in this, it was automatically better than anything that was on the rest of the program. But that's they put that where people, if they DVR'd the program, wouldn't see it.
And let me just apologize to Jace. There's going to be some kind of humming in the background somewhere.
Oh, God damn
The
it,
listeners
no.
won't hear it, but Jace Nakarado will, and we do a great job at Arcadian Vanguard, so the listeners won't hear it.
You know what? Some people here the other day said, I finally, for the first time, heard a noise behind Brian last when you talked about the chainsaws or whatever. I think you hired those people to just go out there and rev those things up outside your window to take the heat off yourself.
You can't prove anything. But what I was going to say is, you know, another episode where you missed the match because of your DVR. Do you think there's anybody at Warner Discovery who's saying, you know, if we make that deal for Raw, we don't have to worry about any of these timing issues anymore. If we make that deal for Monday Night Raw, we don't have to worry about getting a phone call they need more time, they're going to go over. We have to change our whole schedule. You have to wonder.
And now there's going to be people out there that are going to say, oh, you guys don't know everything. I'm sure that they're fine with Tony. Tony's probably got it worked out, but he's kayfabing. He doesn't want to tell people because that would tell him the match is going to run over. There's a reason why that the USA Network, when Raw was scheduled for regular runovers, it was on the goddamn listing. Wasn't it till 11:08 or whatever it was?
Yeah, that's right.
And there have been times in the past when they have advertised in AEW, well, the first 30 minutes is commercial free or whatever, because that's something you need to work out ahead of time with the network. But that's to advertise something to make people watch the show. And an overrun, USA Network used to advertise that because it made people watch the show. It gave the next show a good lead in. I think they were doing that when UFC got that tremendous lead in. If Tony has an overrun that he can have anytime he wants, then why doesn't he advertise it? Why don't they make a point of saying that in the DVR, in the cable guides, Dynamite is from 8 to 10:08 or 10:05 or whatever, and then advertise that we do this, right, to give you more for your or whatever, instead of it happens. Sometimes it's only 1 minute or 2 minutes. Sometimes it's 3 minutes. I don't know how long this one was. Did they cut them really short? But it's not advertised because they're calling from the truck as they realize that it may be close. And in this show, they started talking about, well, we're going to stay with that main event early on, like they were drastically long on time by the time they were halfway in. That's why I believe it may have been either that first fucking match or the MJF Cole segment or both. And he just panicked and said, give us as much more time as you can give us. If somebody's willing to send a statement over from AEW, from the production truck or the talent relations office or the goddamn legal department, whoever, and deny this, I'd be happy to read it on the air.
Did you see the story that came out a couple weeks ago before the NXT to CW news, or maybe right after it, that CW had offered the spot to Ring of Honor last year, or at least were willing to have a discussion, and Tony wouldn't. He didn't want to upset Warner Discovery and take a show that's not even on their platform and put it on a different platform.
And that's why, that's why he's collected Ring of Honor, but he doesn't have time to put a new display case up, so he's just got it in his closet for right now.
Well, that is where we are now, and ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we will once again, for the second and final time today, time travel to that wonderful time when the ratings come in. Let's go there right now.
Hey, Mr. Nielsen!
All right. We're going to get a concussion with all this time travel this
Good
episode.
heavens. That sounds like somebody wired the Sibian up backwards and put the positive on the negative and the negative on the positive.
Oh, excuse me.
Ooh, sorry, doctor.
Well, we are here. Yes.
We've traveled again because we're pumping this content out, baby, so quick that the Nielsen people couldn't keep up with us. We had to take a break to close the show with the big ratings extravaganza because of the holiday weekend. Everything's been delayed, and now we have the ratings for last week's Dynamite episode that was more like nitroglycerin in that it was very volatile and blew up when they didn't expect it. But, Brian, you want to talk about some ratings? I want to talk about some ratings. I want to talk about some viewers. You remember when I drew the very clear and concise picture, the timeline and everything, to where I proved that not only did O.J. Simpson invent Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he owes me $5,000. You remember that?
I remember he cost you that house in Knoxville that night. I don't remember.
Well, and then I extrapolated on from there that because then Jake the Snake no-showed me because he got a shitty payoff and his wife got mad about it because O.J. Simpson was on the car chase when he was defending the Smoky Mountain title in Knoxville, and we didn't draw, and as a result, Jake was gone, and therefore he would not have done what he did, and when he came back in the WWF, he wouldn't have cut the promo and the blah, 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 and there would have been no Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I've got another one now. CM Punk is the Beatles, and I am Ringo Starr.
All right, let me know how you set this one. I know the Beatles. I love the Beatles. I want to hear how you set this one up.
Because apparently this is a big deal to the kids these days. You know, there are these YouTubers and these influencers and these and effluviers and various people that live their lives to get on the, you know, the old spooky boy up in Canada. He lived his life to get on YouTube and
bleed
and have subscribers
and take your blood. Just blood everywhere.
But the thing
Fuck
is,
you,
all
Moxley.
these people, they're trying, and that's the problem, because you got to just be the Beatles. And CM Punk is the Beatles, because this is a big deal to the kids, like I said. Right now, as we sit here recording this on YouTube, not wrestling YouTube or a subcategory of you, but on the fucking YouTube. This is how over CM Punk is, ladies and gentlemen. The number one trending video on YouTube is CM Punk is back on the WWE YouTube channel with almost 5 million views on this 2 minutes alone. CM Punk is back. See the epic return, blah, blah, blah. That's the number one trending video on YouTube, courtesy of the WWE, a multi-billion dollar corporation. Now, number two is apparently, and I guess trending, it's the pace that you're at right now. It's not the total views, but it's like apparently the pace, because this number two has 24 million views, but it's slowing down. Apparently a girl group called Baby Monster performing something called Batter Up. It does have a couple of lyrics here. I'm on a mission, don't need permission. No matter what, I'm going to make my own decision. I'm talking you want it too.
Is it written by
So
Enzo?
that's from Baby Monster. And then number 3, trending video on YouTube. 1 is from the WWE, a multi-billion dollar company. Number 2 is Baby Monster, and they got a check mark next to them, and apparently somebody's dressed them up, so they probably got a record label behind them. And number 3 trending video on YouTube right now, Jim Cornette on CM Punk returning to WWE at Survivor Series.
No, it's not. Get out of here.
Yes, I go to YouTube right now and click on the goddamn deal. I'm not talking about our YouTube page. I'm talking about the trending thing on the whole YouTube. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. And obviously we are neither a multi-billion dollar corporation nor a major record company. We got the number 3 trending video on YouTube, which is an audio clip with Travis Heckel's thumbnail. And we're kicking the shit out of Hammer Jam, Upgrade Uproar, which is apparently number 4.
What the hell is that?
I don't fucking know.
Hammer Jam?
The Clash of Clans animation. And then number 5 is Benavidez versus Andrade. That's not our Andrade. That's a Showtime boxing. Yeah. But CM Punk is so over and so hot that we get the number 3 trending video on YouTube with an audio clip talking about what he fucking did.
I got to see where my trending thing is. I think a lot of it's dependent on what you watch. Right now I have just my recommendations of chiropractors, Paul Revere and the Raiders.
We're having people comment and tweet at me. That's why I brought this up to you. No, say it. Hey, we were trending number 4, and then we were trending number 3. We could trend number 2. Hey, watch out, Baby Monster. Fuck you, will kick you right in the uterus.
Speak for yourself.
Well,
right in your uterus. How many members are there? How many members are there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Just you and me. Well,
you're gonna go for all the uteri?
No, maybe we'll talk to him about this. See if we can squash this beef. There's 6 of them.
This beef that you started.
Well, fuck. Who are they getting in the middle of me and Punk on trending? Nobody asked them to show up.
Hold on now. Now, wait a minute. Let's go back to what you started with. We somehow went right past this. I could understand the Punk to Beatles comparison. Maybe not the one I would use.
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the top 40 charts. I was kind of going that way.
Right. Punk's a big star.
Yeah,
how do you get that you're Ringo? Where did that come from?
Well, because he was the least important member, but I do have a part to play in this number 3 somehow.
Does that make Tony Khan Pete best?
You know, that makes Tony Khan Pete worst. It makes Tony Khan want to tear his hair out because the television program that Punk would have been on had Tony Khan not lost his mind and fired him instead of Jack Perry for being a smartass, would have been getting not even as many views on network cable on TBS as we've gotten for this audio clip talking about him appearing on the Survivor Series. We're up to 300,000 pretty much already on that clip. The TV program that they spend a lot of money to produce would not have had that many viewers if Jack Perry had not been a smartass and Tony Khan was not Dickless Pete.
Holy shit, I just pulled it up. You're right. Here's Baby Monster and here's Hammer Jam, and we're right in between.
Well, God, there you go.
The baby and the hammer.
We're in between the baby and the hammer. Between a rock and a hard place. Please, Hammer, don't hurt the baby.
Stop.
Stop what?
Hammer time.
Oh, God damn it. Anyway.
It's twice I've got you.
You keep doing that to me.
Well, anyway, speaking of Hammer time.
But we don't have the ratings yet for Collision against Survivor Series, do we?
No, those are the holy grail of ratings right now.
Those are coming up, but we do have last week's Dynamite that's finally been revealed to the public. These ratings had to be put out in a plain brown wrapper, for those of you old enough to remember, when you had to order your smut through the mail like God intended it.
How much smut?
All right, go ahead.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Hold on. How much smut did you order through the mail? I know where you were living.
There was a variety of smut that got ordered through the mail back in those days, before you had just the unlimited smut machine called the internet. And that's why they sent it to you in a plain brown wrapper. That's how everybody knew when you got a plain brown envelope, you were ordering fucking diddle material.
All right, well, let's talk about Tony Khan's diddling of himself.
As a matter of fact, sometimes when you went to school back in those days, you stuck a plain brown wrapper in with your school book so the other kids would think you were cool.
All right, when I was in second grade, one of the kids came in with these pens that if you turn them upside down, the girl in the bikini, like the ink in the bikini, just like...
It goes away,
yeah.
Yes. I have a vintage one of those from the 50s. With it looks like Gypsy Rose Lee, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, this was vintage too, and then the teacher took it and sent him away.
Well, God damn her. She could have... That's worth a lot of money these days.
Well, she wasn't a collector, but of course Tony Khan is a collector of wrestlers. AEW Dynamite Gym this past week, Wednesday, November 22nd on TBS.
You're laughing already.
I'm having fun. We're having fun. Just like AEW, we're having fun. Everyone should have a good time.
Give me a number.
845,000 viewers on average.
And Jesus, do they have these same people strapped to a chair every week? It's 8:35, it's 8:25, it's 8:45. They're consistent, I'll give them that, but where'd they start and where'd they wind up?
Well, let me make a note here. According to WrestleNomics, this was Dynamite's highest total viewership since October 18th, but in the key demo, 18 to 49, viewership was the lowest since October 25th.
Okay, so they're running off they're running off Uncle Dave's group. The young kids and children, the 18 to 49ers, the hip cats that swing and groove and jive.
Paint their hair red.
Paint their hair different colors. It doesn't have to be red. It could be one color one day and one color the next day.
Well, Jim, let's go to the ratings right now. These were compiled by Wrestle.
Sometime when the light catches it looks like a kaleidoscope. She's like a rainbow. Oh, the colors of her hair, they're everywhere.
Oh.
It's like an old woman suddenly decided to look younger.
Well, let's see if Tony Khan came in colors this week. Quarter one.
That's because when he ejaculated, he blew a blood vessel.
Once again, these were compiled by WrestleNomics.
Oh, they were?
Quarter one, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Once again, November 22nd on TBS. Jay Lethal versus Swerve Strickland with picture-in-picture, 971,000 viewers.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph riding a camel. If they started there, the big bangers are coming back around. The Big Bang must be doing a heck of a number, but they started there and their average is 845. We are about to, is this going to be a slalom? Is it going to plummet straight down, or are we to take any twists and turns first?
We shall find out. Here's quarter two, 8:15, 8:30 p.m. The continuation of Lethal versus Strickland. The Wheeler Yuta confrontation with Orange Cassidy, Hook, and Shibata.
Shibata. Bam, bam, bam.
The man whose brain returned. Also, MJF and Adam Cole begin their confrontation with Samoa Joe.
How did it find its way back, I wonder, on its own?
They removed it, I guess. Well, they had to remove it from the cord. But anyway.
So somebody was still in charge of it. They didn't just leave it to wander around.
948,000 viewers.
Okay, that is a shocking surprise because one would have thought that they would have lost about 100,000 of those right off the bat.
And let me just say, that's also the high point in the key demo, 382,000 viewers. And I think that may be the Swerve Strickland effect.
And again, they never keep a large number like that through the second quarter when they get it handed to them. They always plummet. So bravo, Swervo.
Well, let's go to quarter three. No more Swervo, as we're now calling him.
Swervo is done now.
Well, let's go from Swervo to Swirly, the continuation of the MJF Adam Cole Samoa Joe live promo.
Ooh, boy.
An ad break. Jake Hager, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker versus Hook. Shibata, the man with the returned brain, and Orange Cassidy with picture-in-picture ads. 862,000 viewers.
Okay, again, I have to be completely honest. I would have thought that after MJF and Cole, they would have lost more than that. Maybe we're starting to see that erosion. But again, with 971, 948, and 862, and an average of 845, it sounds like that's entertainment is headed toward the end of the program. Go ahead.
Well, speaking of 845, quarter four, 845 to 9 p.m., the continuation of the six-man tag match that I'm not going to name all the participants of again.
Yeah.
The Cole Roddy Strong Kingdom backstage angle, an ad break, and the beginning of the Christian Cage ceremony, or live promo, whatever it was, 859,000 viewers.
Okay. Apparently, now what's coming up is either a plague of locusts or a goddamn existential crisis like an asteroid hitting the Earth.
Well, there was a big asteroid that night.
I can't believe they're this far up in that first hour.
Well, quarter five, the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m. The continuation of Christian Cage's promo with Nick Wayne, Luchasaurus, Nick Wayne's mom, and eventually Adam Copeland. And then the Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, Jake Hager, Anna Jay backstage angle, leading into Roosh versus Jay White. 920,000 viewers.
Wait, what? Okay. Massive power failure on the East Coast is coming up. I don't know how in the world they gained for that, but this ain't adding up. Where we go? Three more quarter hours. What the hell is going on here?
End an overrun. Quarter six, Jim, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The continuation of Roosh versus Jay White with picture-in-picture ads and then an ad break. 799,000 viewers.
Oh, okay. So 121,000 people all of a sudden said, fuck Jay White and Rush. I mean, but still they've still got 800,000 people watching this rotten program. And the first 5 quarters were better than they had any right to be. So if they can keep around 800,000, but I'm still having a problem doing this math. Where are they going from here?
They're going to quarter 7, I believe. 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The Ricky Starks, Big Bill, Chris Jericho backstage angle. The Tony Storm ceremony, whatever that was. And then the beginning of Ruby Soho versus Anna Jay versus Sky Blue with picture-in-picture ads. I don't mean to laugh. But what do you expect here? 746,000 viewers.
Oh, okay. Well, again, this is not as bad as I had contemplated it would be, because they only lost another 53,000. That brings it to 100 and... Wait a minute, I can't do that much math in my head. 174,000 people left in a half an hour. They've done that before.
Once again, we have an overrun here, but quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. The continuation of Ruby Soho versus Anna Jay versus Sky Blue. And the post-match, the Wardlow AR Fox backstage confrontation.
I forgot to watch that, by the way.
And then the beginning of Mark Briscoe versus Jon Moxley with picture-in-picture ads. 733,000 viewers.
The Moxley effect.
7-minute overrun, Jim. 10 to 10:07 p.m. Mark Briscoe versus Jon Moxley.
Now, hold on. Now, the overrun is always higher than the last quarter of their show because it's people tuning in to watch the program they think is coming on at that point in time. And generally, that's, a larger number, apparently. So this should be larger, I guess, right?
Well, again, it's a 7-minute overrun. 688,000 viewers.
Oh, Jesus Christ. 45,000 more people said fuck Moxley, their main event guy, their big time tough guy that drinks bones and eats blood. Woo! So, now get your calculator out there, Brian.
Oh, don't start this again. Come on.
Well, if they started with 971,000 and they ended up with 688,000, that is a loss of 283,000 people. And what's 283 times 4? 283 times 4.
3 million.
No, it's goddamn not.
No. 1,132.
1,132. So that would be 1,100,000. So they lost somewhere around 22% or so or thereabouts of their original audience, I guess. I don't know how to do that math, but Jiminy, again, what other program does this? What SmackDown doesn't do it. Raw loses that many people, but not that percentage because they're starting with so many more, and it's 3 hours. It goes to 11 o'clock at night. But and we've talked about in days gone by, back when wrestling was supposed to be so boring, according to these people, the main event, the last match, gained viewers, didn't lose. You gained more. You ended up with more than you started with. And that was Raw in the Attitude Era. Blah, blah, blah. And now, this was a gift that they got the first 5 quarters they got until people said, well, fuck, is this what's going to be the rest of the night? Good Lord.
You know what the saddest thing is? I mean, it's all self-induced. It's all Tony's own fault. Tony thought he knew better than everyone. I can't see anything right now to fix all this. Because of the problem being where, it's at the top.
Well, and remember I said that, and J.J. Dillon wrote about this when he wrote his book and said that he was, privy to the fact that Flair and the Horsemen asked him to go because he was also working as Dusty's assistant booker, but he was their manager. He was in the office. He was experienced. Go to Jimmy Crockett and basically say, we think we need to win more. We need to get more heat because if we lose this thing, it's harder to get back than it is to maintain it. And I said, that's with wrestling. It's harder to get something back once you've lost it than it is to maintain it, and the more you hot shot, or the more in Tony's case, you just go, I can't call this hot shotting. I don't know what it is. Weird shotting. You're just losing more of it and losing more of it. And it's not easy to get it back. Sometimes you don't. And this may be his point at this juncture. We know the audience that will watch for free is what this is. And it hasn't grown. It's shrunk somewhat slightly since the start. They're selling fewer tickets. I don't know what kind of pay-per-view attraction they've got, but sooner or later, these people are going to, how many times can we spend $50? But who's he got to sign? Who's he got to get? He just signed Edge, and we're talking about the end of the fucking end times of the company. He signs Edge, and they debut or re-debut Orton and Punk in the same night. And, and we're trending talking about something the guy that he fired did that got tons more attention than us talking about it.
I just can't get over how long people ignored what we said because you were funny or said things they didn't like about wrestlers they love. And the excuses were the video game's going to save the company, or the company's worth $1 billion, or Tony's going to be able to get a television rights deal that's going to be so astronomical, it'll make it all worth it, or they're going to beat Raw in the ratings. And it was not a quick thing, but if you were paying attention objectively, you saw this all happening. And now we're at this point where we're questioning, how could they save their company? It's going to exist. I don't mean it save it from going out of business. Unless Tony's dad says enough, and I don't think he's going to right now, this is going to keep going. Even if it's on, some online platform because they lose their television deal. It's going to keep going.
It's going to keep going. The direction is yet to be determined.
But I don't know. AEW is such a disappointment because of that, because of what, you said it early on, and I think it becomes more and more apparent as time goes on. It was the opportunity. This was the opportunity. We may never get it again. God bless Tony Khan. He was the wrong person to be in charge of this.
Yeah, he was the right person to pay for it and the absolute wrong person to give the fucking keys to and let him drive. And, that's why I didn't take it seriously from the start. Because I heard him talk to me and I listened to the words he said. And I said, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing and he doesn't realize it. And $100 million apparently will buy you a lot of fucking smoke and mirrors. But at some point, when everything starts falling apart because you haven't put any fucking curbs or guardrails on it, and you don't know how you got there really anyway, and it was kind of haphazard to begin with, and now, shit, how do I get out of all this mess? And meanwhile, the Uranus Corporation over there that's worth tens of billions of dollars is just pummeling you with stars and fucking professionalism.
That's one of the things, too. We've gone through a lot of audio recently. Jace Nakarado, or Jay Sharknado, as he's known, incognito, has especially just for Omnibus.
Where is Cognito, and how often is he there?
It's in Ontario. And he's been going through a lot of the stuff for Omnibus season. So many of the things we both said in the early days. I thought what was going to do AEW was, without even knowing too much about what Tony Khan was going to do, so rich kid being given unlimited funds, there's no serious management in place. And look at the problems that have happened since. But a lot of people wanted to turn the other way. They wanted to will Tony to success. They wanted to will their favorite wrestlers to getting American time to work their favorite style of matches. No one's happy now. Even the AEW fans are now split. No one's happy now. And How do we end this show on a happy note? Have some kind
well,
of happy
it's my show. So by the way, here's the thing. Here's who's happy. Punk is happy. Instead of being on a show on Saturday night that didn't get as many viewers as our clip talking about what he did on Saturday night got, he's getting millions and millions of YouTube views for walking out and waving to people. And that's when he does something, people talk about it. And then people talk about the people that are talking about it. And they're goddamn going back and forth. Everything Triple H said, he gets attention, he makes people talk, he starts conversations, he creates debates. And that's what you want. If you're in goddamn any type of professional sport or entertainment business where you sell tickets or get people to watch television. And that's what Tony couldn't figure out, is he finally got one of them things, one of them ratings people that he always wanted, and he couldn't see that his fucking hand-chosen EVPs that he had fallen for because he had fallen into that bubble didn't want the guy around because he showed him up. And so they fucked with him and pushed his buttons, and he's not a person that likes that. And then created all the gaga. And then Tony was so afraid of a confrontation of any kind where he has to be the boss and somebody might not be his friend because he's mean to him. He let it go completely out of control. And then finally, when the guy, Punk, said, fuck you, I'm going to front face lock the Jungle Jack off, and yelled at Tony, his little romper room contingent won. See, you got to get rid of him. So he fires him, keeps the rest of them. And now you've got one guy suspended, Jack Perry. He's not even on the television, and nobody gives a fuck if he comes back. The two other EVPs that got in the original dressing room dust up are so not over now, and people are so bored with them that they're having to take time away and come back with a new gimmick and a faction because nobody gives a shit. And all of their friends still have jobs where we have to look at them on television just because they went to school with the Buckaroos, and they do no ratings. This is what Tony got, and this is the people that Tony was telling me that he was going to be in business with when I talked to him in 2018. And I knew this day would come. I just didn't realize how long $100 million would bluff you.
Well, Jim, before we completely bluff out, real quick, here's Tony Khan talking to BBC reporter Steve Herman.
Oh, boy.
About CM Punk returning to WWE. Let's hear what Tony Khan says.
I have to ask you about CM Punk. Of course, he was at All In, and his last appearance for AEW was at All In at Wembley Stadium. We've now seen him appear at WWE Survivor Series at War Games. Were you surprised to see him there?
Can't talk about that, nor do I think it's the time or the place. But I appreciate you asking, and I'm very excited about AEW All In Wembley Stadium. Not to dodge or duck your question, it's just not something I can legally talk about.
Not something he could legally talk about. What would be the legalities that would stop you from answering a question? What do you think? Were you surprised that he was at the Survivor Series?
You know what? I don't even think a judge's gag order would have prevented Tony Khan from saying, unfortunately, our relationship has come to an end, but I wish CM Punk all the best in his future endeavors. But I can't legally talk about what I think about him showing up in another place.
And obviously he's been so prepped by someone about how to answer any of these questions, because the real answer is, Tony, what did you think? I shit my pants.
I think I shit myself, pal. And by the way, he still snuck in, but it's going to be great at Wembley Stadium, but I can't legally talk about anything else.